So we had an error 64. This is how we're going to identify and resolve an error 64. We start by going into settings, put in the code, and then we're going to go down to re-enable the top platen and get us out of flat cook. We're going to go down to the flat cook mode, press the start button, and although it's already highlighted normal cooking, we're going to press it again, and then we're going to press a tick mark. This will re-enable the top platen and allow us to go to gap calibration. So we're going to go into the gap calibration mode and we're going to check the level sensors. Error 64 is a level sensor issue, which means one of the sensors is reading out of the specified range. So we can check this in platen calibration. So we're going to go in, go to gap calibration. Now we're using a test grill, so we're going to do this cold, but you would do it at full temperature. We put in the gap of 80 mils or 400, depending on what tool you're using, and enter calibration. The platen will come down, as you can see, and it will stop at the 2-inch mark. We're going to bring this down to 400 mils, which is the size of our instrument tool. When the platen comes to the set point, at the moment we're not worried about the actual gap, we're just worried about the sensors. We're now going to use the plus minus button and go to the level. On the level screen we have all the sensor details. We have the back sensor reading at 269, the front sensor reading at 24. We know that the sensor should be within a range of about 100 to 300. Ideally 160 to 280 mils is the ideal difference. What we should have at the end is a sensor delta. This is telling us we have 245 mils difference between the front and back. So that's our problem. The front sensor is far too low. So we need to understand if this is a sensor fault or if this is just incorrectly positioned. We can see from the angle of the platen and the way it's positioned that the distance front to back is very consistent. So therefore we know that that isn't the issue. If we look at the rear sensor, we have about 240 thousandths of an inch difference. When we come to the front sensor, you can see it's nearly touching the target. That is our issue. So we need to adjust that sensor and reposition it correctly. So to start with, we're going to remove the platen lid and expose the sensors. Straight away we can look in the top and we can see that there isn't much of this sensor in, so it's badly positioned. What we need to do is loosen this nut. Now this is fitted with a socket, so you'll need to use a socket. Don't try to use a screwdriver and hammer. So the socket goes on and loosens that nut. Once that nut's loose, we can now twist the sensor. And as we undo that sensor, you'll see from the top the gap increases. As the sensor is raising up, you can see on the screen the front sensor reading also changes. You want to position the front sensor reading to 250 mils. At the moment we're at 208. So if we go to 250, so we're at 251, and we can go back to the top. And we can see there's now a nice gap. When we look, you see how much this is raised up. So we'll now retighten and fasten that all back. So as well as using the screen to tell us if the sensor works, the sensor also has a red LED on the top. As you put the gapping tool between the sensor and the target, you'll see the light, the brightness of the light changes. Okay, that's a good indication. It tells you if that sensor is working or not working. So now that we've adjusted the sensor, we can now press the back button. We have to press the update button and then the teach. The teach will perform a self-calibrate and reset all the numbers. If we've adjusted the sensor correctly, we should now have resolved the error 64. Once the calibration is completed, you'll get the complete signal and you've resolved the error 64. You should now be able to return back to the cook menu and everything will function as it should.